Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Good day, welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. You can watch this program live on our Facebook page, that's Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You can also hear us live on audio streaming at Evox PBS Receiver app. So join us for another edition of Front and Center with your host, Jerome Toledo.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Before we head to our guest for today, but first I will try to read some developments here in the Philippines, particularly the MOU or Memorandum of Understanding that was forged between the Department of Information and Communications Technology and the Maharlika Investment Corporation or MIC. They have forged a partnership to boost digital infrastructure investments in the country. The ICT Secretary Henry Aguda and MIC President and CEO Rafael Consing signed an MOU or Memorandum of Understanding on July 15th, that was yesterday, to collaborate, or 2 days ago, to collaborate on investing in critical digital infrastructure projects that not only generate long-term returns but also drive inclusive growth across geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas or GIDAs or as we know it, remote areas. The investment collaboration is seen to bring more internet infrastructure to meet the growing demands or growing importance of the digital economy in the country's economic growth. Secretary Aguda said that MOU is a fulfillment of promise of the President to the Filipino people to provide affordable internet everywhere in the Philippines and every person who needs to go online. For MIC President and CEO Consing, the MOU marks a vital step toward building the digital backbone of our nation, one that delivers long-term intergenerational impact. And also by prioritizing digital infrastructure today, it is not only enabling inclusive growth, but also securing opportunities for generations of Filipinos. And the DICT said its partnership with the MIC is also expected to boost investor confidence and attract local and foreign investments in underserved areas. And I recall we had an interview before with the MIC president, Consing, as I asked about the internet infrastructure in our country and if the MIC is considering investing in that technology or in that industry. Let me play a clip of the interview of MIC President and CEO Rafael Consing last February. Let's listen in.
So at the moment, plans with them.
Okay, we have a technical difficulties there. We'll try to play it one more time.
Specifically, we are speaking of.
I will play the portion of the interview last February 2nd here on Front and Center, where I asked the MIC President and CEO Rafael Consing if MIC is considering investing in internet sector or particularly the ICT sector. Let's play it again.
So at the moment, we're basically aligning.
Okay, we'll try to play that later. But anyway, we'll proceed to another topic here. So particularly in the Senate, because the people's trust in the Senate continued to rise according to the latest social weather stations or SWS of the two chambers of Congress, reaching 64% last June, or an increase of 4 percentage points from May this year and 12 percentage points from December 2024. The SWS result, which was commissioned by this ADR strat-based group, also showed that the Filipinos with little trust in the Senate decreased or shrunk to 13% from 19% last month and 20% in December, while the undecided slightly went down to 21% from 22%, and 24% registered during the same survey periods. And the latest SWS poll was conducted from June 25 2025 using face-to-face interview of 1,200 respondents age 18 to 55 years old. And bulk of the voting age adult survey came from Luzon, which marked at 45%, followed by Mindanao at 23% and the Visayas at 19%. And also in a separate poll, also commissioned by the Stratbase, showed that 55% of Filipinos have much trust in Senate President Francis Cheese Escudero. That was up from 47% in May and 46% in April this year. So respondents were asked about their public trust in the country's top five officials. And also Vice President and only Vice President Sara Duterte was able to receive a trust rating higher than the Senate President. The results showed that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. received 48% and House Speaker Martin Romualdez, which at 34%. And those with little trust slide to 23%. That's down 5 percentage points from the previous month, while the undecided slightly dropped to 21% from 23%. And my question is that would that rating significantly affect the the Senate, because the impeachment trial is about to start, and Senator Joel Villanueva said that the impeachment proceeding or impeachment trial will begin by sometime in August. But okay, anyway, so earlier we tried to play a portion of the clip that was a previous interview of the program to MIC, or the Maharlika Investment Corporation President and CEO Rafael Consing, as I asked about the interest of the MIC to invest in ICT sector. Let's listen in.
So at the moment, we are speaking with the ICT. We're basically aligning our plans with them. You know, if you look at telecoms infrastructure specifically, we are speaking of telecommunication towers, and we very well know that when the law on the common towers was passed, you basically had the entry of very large foreign investors in that space coming in over the past 36 months. The reality, however, is they are heavily concentrated in urban areas. Okay, if you look at the Philippines, theoretically, if you want to connect the whole country, and if you were just to simplify it by putting in one telecom tower per barangay, then we should have about 40,000 towers. Okay, today we have about, but if you look at the lay of the land, the way our population is scattered, the country needs about 70 to 75,000 telecommunications towers. Today, there are about 37,000 towers, except that they are located mostly in urban areas.
Right.
So what we want to be able to do is invest in what they call GIDA areas. That stands for geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. Interestingly, the SPUG areas and the GIDA areas have so many touch points. So if you overlay that map between the GIDA areas in power and the SPUG areas in relation to power, and GIDA areas when it comes to broadband, they have commonalities. No? So let me give you an idea. Boracay and Palawan, very strong tourist attraction, but they're both GIDA and SPUGs. So we want to be able to roll out infrastructure projects in those areas in order to catalyze and enable capital formation wholesale.
I see.
And I think that's a very important differentiation in our strategy compared to other sovereign wealth funds across the globe.
And you just heard the Maharlika Investment Corporation, the president and chief executive officer Rafael Consing, as he expressed earlier in that interview that the MIC is interested to invest in the information and communications technology sector and to power up the geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas or GIDAs with the internet connectivity. So that's in line with the push of the Marcos Jr. administration's digitalization program. Okay, so now let's proceed to our topic for today. So we are still in focus of the impeachment trial or the impending or upcoming impeachment trial of the Vice President Sara Duterte, as Senator Joel Villanueva said that the impeachment trial will begin by August, and some of the attacks are continue are some of the attacks are being hurled against the Vice President. And to give us more details and have a discussion regarding this topic, we now have on the line the political analyst, Attorney Ed Chico. Good morning, Attorney Chico. Jerome Toledo here again from Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You're live.
Uh, Good morning, Jerome. As usual, it's an honor to be a part of your show.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation on such short notice. Okay, so let me begin by this one because Vice President Sara Duterte has told her supporters that they will get there once she decides to run for president in 2028. So, what's your reaction on this? So, is she preparing for her political ambition by 2028 elections?
Well, I guess given the circumstances surrounding her predicament, she has no choice but to run and for president in 2028 because that's the only way, I guess, that she can pursue now or she could perhaps undertake in order to resolve some of the problems that she is currently facing right now, politically at least.
Okay, because and also at the same time at the Senate, Senator Rafi Tulfo said he will vote against a possible motion to dismiss the impeachment case of Vice President Sara Duterte, saying that trial should proceed in the 20th Congress so that Vice President Duterte can prove her innocence. So would that help, Attorney Chico?
I'm so sorry, Jerome. It's a bit not clear.
Okay.
It's a bit choppy. Can you please repeat the
Yeah,
question?
sure. So Senator Rafi Tulfo said on Tuesday that he will vote against a possible motion to dismiss the impeachment case of Vice President Sara Duterte, saying the trial should proceed in the 20th Congress so that Vice President Duterte can prove her innocence. What's your reaction on this? So would that affect?
Um, well, if you ask me, Jerome, I think at the end of the day, everything would have to depend on what's going to happen with the impeachment trial because if it proceeds and if subsequently she would be found guilty, then therefore she can be perpetually disqualified to run for public office. So even if she intends to run in 2028, then that's something that she couldn't do. But on the other hand, if, for example, the impeachment trial would be dismissed, then it presupposes therefore that that everything is somehow in order so that she can pursue her presidential ambition in 2028. So at the end of the day, everything would actually have to be dependent on what's going to happen with this impeachment trial. And you have to understand that even the Supreme Court recognizes the fact that an impeachment trial is actually a political exercise. So if she's got the numbers, then definitely it would be dismissed. If she doesn't have the number, then it will proceed and subsequently she would actually be declared guilty. So it's really a numbers game whether we like it or not.
Okay, so if the impeachment case against the vice president will be dismissed, so that's going to be a rallying point for her supporters to actually support her candidacy in the presidency if the case.
Yeah, definitely, because there would not be any legal impediment anymore. And you also have to understand that her relationship with the president is already beyond this point of no return. I could not see any reason why
Mm-hmm.
both of them can actually resolve their problem and somehow rekindle this unity in which they both created during the campaign and during the last presidential election. So having said that, or with that being said, I expect the president to really pursue the presidency in 2028, assuming of course for the sake of argument that the impeachment trial would subsequently be dismissed, or if it may even proceed if it will not result into conviction.
So, in your assessment, Attorney Chico, so once this trial begins, is this going to be a fast trial proceeding?
Well, at the end of the day, as I said, it's always been a numbers game. But if it will proceed, I doubt if they would fast track the conduct of trial, because if they would do that, that may actually leave a bad taste in the mouth. Some people would actually think that it's actually being rigged, and that it's actually it's something that's already politically motivated. Look, in the case of Chief Justice Corona, it took almost 6 months for the Senate sitting as an impeachment court to get this over, to get that over and done with. So I would expect that if they would proceed with the trial relative to this case against the president, I would assume it might probably take some time before they'd actually be able to come up with a verdict. Because at the end of the day, you have to understand that people are closely monitoring this. So some people are, of course, opposed to the vice president, but there are those who are actually loyal and supportive of her candidacy, and supportive even of her father, the former president. So at the end of the day, since this is being closely monitored, the impeachment trial, I would assume, would take some time before a decision would be arrived at.
Okay, so going now here on the recently released survey by the Social Weather Station, or SWS, saying that the popularity or the trust rating of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Went up by 10 percentage points in June, but still, Vice President Sara Duterte remained as one of the most trusted top government official. So he gained 61% trust rating, while the president got a uh, trust rating at 48%. So still, people are still trusting these two officials despite their animosity towards each other.
Well, this is understandable. Look, during the campaign, I mean, during the last presidential election, before they created this unit team, the surveys would indicate that the top two candidates for the presidential race were actually the vice president and the president. So it basically tells us that both public officials do have their respective following, and despite of, at the end of the day, these people who respectively support them would continue doing so, and actually the survey now would show that, and that is actually pretty understandable. And on the part of the president, I think it is actually a good news for him, because remember, 2 months before, the survey that was done would actually paint him in a bad light, but now he is somehow improving on his trust and approval rating, which I think is a good indication that the president continues to enjoy support from the public.
But some analysis say that despite the Vice President Sara Duterte got 61%, so it remained the same. So the support remains unchanged towards the second most powerful leader of the land.
Well, you have to understand that we're actually very, politics right now is very polarizing, and people have somehow identified the candidate or the public official with who probably they would actually support. And in the case of Sara Duterte, you're talking about the Duterte diehard supporters who definitely through and thin will stick with her and by her. And because Sara Duterte is facing some problem right now, I
Mm.
mean, including, of course, this ongoing impeachment trial,
Mm.
then definitely I would not expect the undecided to support her.
Okay.
So, because the undecided, given all these controversial issues surrounding her,
Mm.
definitely wouldn't think twice about not supporting her, at least at this time.
Oh, okay, at this time. Okay. So recently, Vice President Sara Duterte just hit some of the policies of the Marcos Jr. administration, particularly the approach of the Marcos Jr.'s administration towards the implementation of the 20% tariff to the Philippines by the Trump administration. She's really active at hitting some of the policies of the Marcos Jr.'s administration. So, uh, we, can we see a lot of things that will happen in the next 3 years, given that Marcos Jr. is halfway in his presidency?
Well, considering that there's already a breakup of the unit team, as I said, I do not expect both the vice president and the president to resolve the issues between them. So definitely the vice president right now, as we currently speak, is the opposition.
Mm-mm.
And as such, she is actually expected to criticize the president, to criticize his policies, to criticize his programs. She is expected to scrutinize all projects undertaken by the president.
Mm-mm.
She is even expected to lambaste the president every given opportunity,
Mm-mm.
because that's basically what politics is all about.
Mm-mm.
And right now, I would say that she really belongs to the opposition, whether we like it or not.
But of course, there is some traditional opposition politicians, the likes of the left-leaning groups. At the same time, center politicians or are attacking or criticizing the policies of the administration. So, would Vice President Sara Duterte actually work with those traditional opposition politicians?
Well, of course, it's utterly impossible for those in the left, for example, to align themselves with the vice president, considering that they are the ones who are also adamant about the Senate uh, proceeding with the impeachment trial. And besides, you have to understand that those in the left are always expected to oppose the powers that be, whether you are the president or the vice president. So it's expected of them to do that. On the part of the Kapink senators,
Mm-mm.
like Lisa Ontiveros, for example, or Bam
Mm-mm.
Aquino,
Mm-mm.
they are not necessarily the opposition right now,
Mm-mm.
because I could sense that at some point they would want to not necessarily identify themselves with the president, but somehow show support to the president. And in fact, even Bam Aquino and Kiko Pangilinan are reportedly joining the Senate majority.
Yes.
So, which means, therefore, that they are necessarily part of the opposition, because right now, the clear, I would say, indication that right now, the clear opposition would be the vice president and those public officials that are actually supporting her,
Okay.
and those politicians that who are with her or identified with her.
Okay. So one last thing before I let you go, Attorney Chico. So, VP Sara will not be attending the I think fourth State of the Nation address of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. So would that what does that mean? So Vice President Sara Duterte is not interested to hear what the President Marcos Jr. will report to the nation.
Well, anyway, the fact that she has already indicated displeasure over the president and some of his policies, the fact that she's been lambasting and criticizing the president left and right, would presuppose, therefore, that she has no interest about the president, and therefore would definitely not attend the State of the Nation address. as I said, I mean, between now and 2028, I expect her to calibrate further her position against the president, and I expect her to continuously attack the president because, as I said, there's no more unity, and as I said, she is the prominent opposition right now, and as I said, she is gunning for the presidency in 2028, and then you do not expect the president to support her. Definitely, the president would anoint someone else to run in 2028. So this is expected, and it's not gonna change anytime soon. And I think this will always be the case between now and 2028.
Okay, got it. All right, so that's a very interesting discussion with you, Attorney Chico. But sure, we will have to watch these developments unfold between the two leaders of our country.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. But at the end of the day, anything can still happen. You have to understand that given our political landscape, our public officials and even the constituents are ambivalent, So the enemies today might actually be friends tomorrow. So who knows? I mean, who would have thought that Senator Bam Aquino and Senator Kiko Pangilinan would actually join the Senate majority? And who would have thought that the Vice President right now would incessantly attack and oppose the President? So at the end of the day, everything is ambivalent. Anything can still happen. And the only good thing about the President is that he is actually able to respond to all these controversial issues calmly, which I think is a positive thing for him. So if you notice, despite all the attacks that are hurled against him, he remains calm, he remains composed, and that definitely would bode well for him, and that definitely would not trigger people to abandoning their support for him, and that is actually a good thing.
And that's our President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s ability, which by handling criticisms that was that is being
because
hurled against
that has
him.
always been his personality. You could sense that it's something that is actually natural, something that is innate. So it's not forced, it's not compelled. It is something that you can actually see. Oh, that's his that really is his demeanor, and that sense of authenticity definitely is a positive thing for the president. And people actually know, they can sense whether you are being sincere or not. And the way I look at the president, it seems to me that given his demeanor, he's actually sincere about how he responds to all these controversial issues that are surrounding him, or about all these criticisms that are being made against him.
Okay, got it. All right, and with that, thank you so much for joining in the program, Attorney Ed Chico, the political analyst. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Actually, you woke me up. I thought the interview is for tomorrow. I was actually at the restroom when you asked me to join you in this Zoom meeting. But nonetheless, it's always been a pleasure, Jerome.
Okay.
Another nose-bleeding moment for me.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a good day, Attorney Chico. Thank you.
God bless you, Jerome.
Thank you. God bless you too. And that was the political analyst, Attorney Ed Chico. And with that, we end this edition of Front and Center here on Radio Pilipinas World Service, together with our production team and technical personnel. This is your host, Jerome Toledo. Until next time, mabuhay, love the Philippines.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radio Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.